Wicked Spursy.
Now call me real bro. Say no like to back and talk. Land to your fucking head. Drop it out for what let it fit.
Hello to my free niggas. Give me young free niggas. A whole fuck. With pride in my veins. That's the type of devil. The devil be fucking. I'm on a job to get your motherfucking weed stick.
Hey, this is Wicked Spursy, Mike, Steve, and we are still trying to reach out to the artificial intelligence known as Nikki Winks, who is eluding us in the studio mainframe, I assume. Whatever it is that AI tends to do. But I don't know. More on that developing story as we progress. Until then, Mike, it's been like a day since I've seen you? How's it been?
Has it been a day? It's been a day.
It has, because I saw you on Sunday and it's Tuesday, so yeah.
One day is on Sunday. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, man. It's good after you left. The other team equalized. Um, Beautiful, beautiful goal. Beautiful team goal. Kid hit a banger. Um, but um, the far post boys came back, and I noticed something in the second half that they did that I don't typically notice with them, but they did like I'm sure you noticed like watching they were still like playing like they were playing on the small field. They widened out,
Interesting.
and as they widened out, the space that they were afforded to play just just allowed them to dominate the rest of the game. Like Queen City didn't have the ball at all in the second half.
Mike, it's funny you mentioned that because that's something, I was doing U10 and U12 games, and one of the things that I've noticed is just how much space they leave out wide. Um, there were a couple of teams that I noticed where they deliberately were trying to play those through balls out wide into space for like their speedy winger to run onto it. It's honestly kind of cool to see some of those tactics develop in real time in some of these youth sports.
Yeah, for sure. Um, Lucas had a couple of really nice opportunities. He had a ball that he tried to cross and he just didn't get his foot around on it, and it ended up slapping in the side of the net. But um, they're up 2-1. Queen City did take the ball back from them deep in their own zone and try to progress forward. And Lucas, as they made a pass to midfield, Lucas came out of nowhere and picked the ball off. It was beautiful. And as he's approaching the goal, the keeper noticed that he had the ball on his left foot. And to his credit, Lucas, he doesn't use his left foot. He's not assured of his left foot, when he shoots. To his credit, Lucas just saw the keeper, noticed he had the ball on his left foot, and decided to go right to the right of the goal. So he went low and right and just crossed the keeper right up and smashed the ball in. I mean, it was a nice goal. He kicked the ball out in front of him, so because he knew that center back wasn't going to have time to catch up to him, and the kid is just so speedy, and it was just absolutely fun to watch because he did promise his mom a goal on Mother's Day. And I do want to say
He delivered.
we didn't get to talk to you on Mother's Day and any of you guys. So I just want to wish everybody in Wicked Spursy Land a happy Mother's Day. And for those of you who don't celebrate, we do understand that it's a tough time for some folks. Um, and I know I put this on the blue sky, but we do want to also celebrate um, all the people that in your life that are just amazing and made your life and continue to make your life special. So um, we want to thank everybody for that. Not just the moms out there. I know other people. Some people don't have moms or have lost their moms. So and it can be tough times.
Yeah, well said, Mike. Well said. Yeah, it's honestly kind of shocking how many kids actually showed up on a Mother's Day match. I mean, it was packed there, man. It was something else. But
Yeah, you had two
yeah,
different leagues going on there. You have the the VFL, and then you had the Vermont Premier League also playing. I mean, it's great that it's great when all these other clubs and all the clubs who don't necessarily play all in the same leagues can share the same field spaces, and I really really enjoy that part of the community building part of football. Of soccer. It really is great, and I think it's with our very own Vermont Green, it is really on full display, and especially right now and in the past 4 to 5 years, it's in full bloom here in Vermont, and it's just wonderful to see.
Yeah, as I'm sure you're aware, Mike, I was there all weekend refereeing, and I gotta say, one of the things that really stuck out to me was just how considerate a lot of the players were. Even from the step up from U10 to U12, where you started to see a lot more, physical development in some of these kids, where you've had, kids almost as big as I am already going up against kids, half their size, and I didn't hear anybody being disrespectful. I didn't hear anybody, really being mean or cruel about their opponents. And especially Sunday, where every game that I refed was absolutely one sided. It was nice to hear, words of encouragement, support from the guardians, parents, family, friends, whoever was there. It was just a really positive environment, and it just goes to show how nice having that unified sport that everybody is invested in can be such a good thing for the community when it's done right. I mean, you hear some horror stories of parents who kind of take it too far, or maybe certain coaches and leagues who are a little bit more relentless and cutthroat. But to experience the good side of it on a beautiful day, by the way, it was just a fantastic thing to be a part of.
I mean, that's what it's all about, right? It really is. Sorry, I was paying attention to you, but my daughter just got home, so she came down to talk to me. Um,
Yeah, of
yeah,
course. I
it's
mean,
just like I said, the spring is in full bloom, and the spring travel soccer season is in full bloom, and the thing about a lot of the clubs around here is that they make sure that we're respectful as parents, respectful to the referees, respectful to the coaches, and the folks that aren't get removed pretty quickly. So
I got to give a nice little shout out. I think it was the last game that I was doing of the day where I had, I want to say it was the Williston boys team. I had one of the kids who I saw where I was positioned, the ball go out of play off of their opponent, but for a corner I was giving him, and he said, "Nope, nope, that was out on me. I got the last touch," and I changed it to a goal kick, and I told him, that was such a great thing. I really appreciated his honesty. And he wasn't the only one. The Burlington FC girls coach the game before, he a couple of times had pointed out, nope, that's their ball. Like, they're taking the throw in now. Um, it's nice when you've got coaches who are showing that level of honesty, because then it does trickle down to the players. The players feel like they need to play fairly, and they need to, if they're going to win, they're going to do it the right way and not try to, deceive the ref. Granted, I'm sure at 10 and 12 years old, nobody's really thinking about referee deception just yet, but
not quite
it
yet.
it is nice that the coaches, the supporters that I did see were very much, let's keep it fair, keep it honest, and just show up to have fun. And it was a fun day, despite the fact that I am now half lobster um, as a result of forgetting my sunscreen. But
Wear your sunscreen.
you live and you learn, Mike. You learn the
Speaking of
hard
living and
way.
learning, Steve, um, those little motherfuckers from Norway, they lived and learned real quick, didn't they?
They sure did. That one game that Spurs played this week, one and only one game, was certainly something to behold. It's kind of funny. understand where some of those players are coming from, the Norwegians. Um, they made it further in the competition than anybody thought they would. They were playing really well. They had, excuse me, an outstanding home record. They kind of needed to try to be a little bit unsettling, a little bit cocky. At the same time, as a supporter of Tottenham Hotspur, it was nice to see them humbled as a result. Um, and I loved that. I don't think it was. I think it was taken probably slightly out of context, but I did love that Romero quote where he was like, "Maybe they should do their talking on the field."
Actually, I think he said that to that defender who said that our press was shit. He got into his face in the game and said after that first goal and said, maybe you shouldn't talk so much.
Oh yeah, that was it.
Look,
But
so look,
to be fair, I don't think
I
anybody would have expected that Poro follow up, the second goal there. Absolutely outrageous. Nobody is saving that. I don't care who
well,
you are.
I mean, it was a cross. Poro said it was a cross. I mean, it was a cross.
But it's funny to me that seems to happen to us at least once a season where we've got
Sometimes those floating. What
yeah.
a Decky had one last year, right? I mean,
Decky had one. I remember who even Serge had one. Aurier a couple of seasons back. He had one of those. Nicky
yeah, he
Winks,
did.
very own Harry, had one from midfield in a cup competition where he just booted it and it just happened to sail right in.
Listen, no, that was okay. So we'll say cup competition. That was we know for a fact it was the Audi Cup.
Yeah, but it's a cup and it is silverware
It's
that
a
we
fake
run.
trophy that
So
Tottenham won and probably still display at the stadium. So
yeah, just
for
like
our
our
Norwegian friends
environmental
for our Norwegian
trophy.
friends who had us all fucking I don't care who you are, every single goddamn Tottenham Hotspur fan out there was fucking rattled by these people. They were rattled by that team. They were rattled by a team that barely scores a goal at the end of a game to bring it to a two goal advantage going into the home leg, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you're fucking cooked." Like you're going into your home leg down 2-0, and they're that confident. Like I can't tell you how many Tottenham fans I talked to, how many Spurs fans I talked to were like, are we really supposed to be like nervous about this? Then I listened to the extra inch, and Wendy had a guest on who was a Glimt fan, and I believe he's a writer as well. Um, dude, listen, they had me nervous. I actually thought we were going to lose that game. Then we get about 20 minutes into the game, and you're like, oh, okay, this team's not actually that good. All the talk about their pitch, their 4G pitch, whatever, that's the same type of pitch that, like, it's actually not even as good as the pitch that they have at Virtue Field. There's been talks about like how bad the pitch actually was. Like there were creases in it in the corners. Like some of the match going fans, the away fans were mentioning how it looked like creases in a carpet. It was
That's
hard
because
to
it
get
kind of
around.
was. Did you,
It was a small, yeah, it was a small like AstroTurf field. It was a smaller field. It was actually kind of cool to watch the game from that perspective. It was kind of neat, but like the shithousing that was going on had me actually fucking nervous about this game. And
well,
then
that's just Spurs. I mean,
just the
they always
just
have
the
me nervous.
professionalism, like the confidence that they had though, that it can really do a number on a fan base that you know should be pretty confident going into it. Like they're at best a low level championship team, maybe a relegation championship team, and they just happen to score a whole shitload of goals on teams who played into their hands. I mean, Lazio played into their hands, and Ange, to his credit, put those tactics out there and didn't allow Spurs to play the game that we call Ange ball, Because if we had played Ange Ball, we might have been in really big trouble. You never know.
Might have. We absolutely would have.
Like we didn't play Ange Ball. We played in a very professional, organized, compact manner, which which gave us an advantage. We played kind of similarly to the way that we played against Frankfurt, right? Like we pressed differently than we did in our home leg, and it was almost like Solanke had a chip on his shoulder. Brennan Johnson had a chip on his shoulder, with the press we were putting on. Uh, and the game for me was so fun to watch. I had such a good time watching it, watching Spurs put in just a professional performance.
Yeah, that seems like a rarity these days, but it's a good thing it was just the only one game that we played. Nothing else happened last week, right? Like we're just going to um plug our ears, cover our eyes, pretend nothing happens. That's the right way to go about this, right? We promised a nice happy show today, didn't we?
No,
I-
I'm pretty happy, man. I'm pretty
pretty
good.
happy.
I've been riding on a fucking cloud.
Yeah. Oh,
We found
because
a
of that
we
one game.
we found a pub, Steve. We found a pub.
A pub or a pug?
A pub
A pub.
to
Here.
watch the match.
Oh, yes.
We are doing a Vermont Spurs Wicked Spursy football social at Rera's Irish Pub in downtown Burlington, Vermont on Church Street for the final.
I'm just sad that I won't be able to attend. I'll be in good old Baltimore.
Yeah, and I'm going to suggest that you go ahead and direct message Ian from Podden and Podspur.
What's going to end up happening is I'm going to completely forget about it until my phone buzzes. Hey, here's the lineup. And it's like, oh, crap.
Yeah, which means that I'm going to have to text you every single fucking day so that you remember.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
Don't get on a plane not remembering that you have to go watch the football game with people, with like-minded people.
Yeah, I mean,
And
if I can
to
watch
that,
it at all.
I'm drinking to our Norwegian win out of my ale horn today.
I'm just drinking straight out of my Vermont Cider Lab can. It's got a dog on it. It's quite nice.
So listen, I have a friend.
Just rub it in, why don't you? Oh, I'm Mike. I have friends. Yeah, I know. I get it.
So I never really thought about it that much, but I had a friend one time tell me that don't ever drink out of a can from a brewery, no matter what brewery it's from. Don't ever drink out of the can. Now,
yeah, well, why would I dirty a glass? Then I'd have to wash it. He's not thinking. Or maybe he's just rich in glasses and cleaning supplies.
You know what he's thinking about? Clean off the top of the can before you drink, because
well, yeah, obviously.
Yeah, 100%. So every time I get a 4-pack, a 6-pack, I always take a cloth and I wipe the top and make sure that it's absolutely clean. So always do that. Always do that.
Whether it's
Before
in
you
a
put that
can or
your
not.
fridge, clean off the top, because
Absolutely.
breweries have grain. And what does grain invite? Rodents.
Yes, and what do rodents produce? The plague.
That's correct. And then next thing you know, half of England is wiped out.
Yeah, and look at who we have in charge of our national health. Not somebody who is perfectly fine bathing in E. coli infested water. Yeah, I'm not going to take any chances.
Yep, Mr. RF coli.
RF coli, fantastic.
Appointed by old Yam Tits.
Oh God. I think that
America's on a great trajectory right now.
Yeah, but I gotta give you props.
I'm not gonna let you bring me
Mike.
down, Steve.
That nickname trumps anything I've ever heard.
I see what you did there, and I kind of like it.
It's the only time anybody can use those two phrases, trumps and likes it, side by side, without feeling sick. Or at least that's the way it should be. But you know what? While we're on the this train of happiness, do you know? I've probably shared this before on the show. You know what I like to do when I need a little serotonin boost every once in a while.
Oh,
I
not
like
smoke
to
weed.
go. There is a subreddit called "Leopards Ate My Face,"
Mm,
um, and the entire point of it is to aggregate social media posts, news articles, things like that of people who get exactly what they wanted, but the consequences impacted them and they weren't expecting it. I believe
yeah,
the
it's like I'm
Germans
so
have a
surprised a
word for
leopard ate
that.
my face.
What is it? Schadenfreude? Is that?
Schadenfreude. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
that's Brian. That's Brian from Rhode Island's. That's his catchphrase. He
Yeah,
loves
well, you know
Schadenfreude.
what? Brian from Rhode Island should have shown up. I mean, what's he doing? Driving a car? He can do two things at once. I've seen him. He's a smart guy. He's talented.
He's no, he is an intelligent guy. Intelligent guys got a lot of things going on in their brain. Like he's probably while he's driving trying to do about 6 things at once.
Not this guy. Brain's all empty here.
It's probably a good thing
Yeah, that's probably true.
because otherwise he'd probably fall off a fucking bridge.
Can't do that. Nope. I
Nope,
would have to card the bridge for, something. Tripping,
for sure, for
maybe.
sure. I got a brand new T-shirt today, Steve. I was very excited.
It's
It's a Chiquita
fantastic.
banana shirt, but it's a minion and it says banana on it.
I wonder if there's anybody in the world who doesn't know what a minion is at this point.
Mm,
I feel like they're pretty universal. Like that is a
yeah,
universally
they are.
recognized thing, whether it's because you have children who have seen Despicable Me or you have a crazy old relative on social media who shares memes. Well, memes in quotes because they're often not funny, but they do include minions for some reason.
Correct.
Not entirely sure how that trend started.
I don't know either. So
But you know
yeah,
what? To keep the good times rolling, Mike, what have you got? It sounds like you've got some idea to get us pumped and energized again.
pumped and energized. It's springtime, Steve. I mowed my
It
lawn
is. It
today.
was a beautiful day. Oh,
What a
even
beautiful
Echo
day.
wants to come and say hi. Look at her. Oh,
So I do have some news, but I can't really share it quite yet because, um, for some reason I think my daughter listens to the podcast.
why?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't necessarily want her listening to it. I've told her not to, but I don't think that I don't want to ruin the big surprise. But I'll tell you about it offline. Um,
Ooh, is Brendan Johnson coming to Vermont Green?
Brennan Johnson is going to be the new winger for Vermont Green. Um, he's going to be loaned to Vermont Green to the USL 2 division where he will not get paid. Um, and he will have to surrender his Welsh citizenship and officially become a member of the Burlington community.
That sounds reasonable. I don't see what would possibly be a holdup there.
Um, European final.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah. So let's get into that. Let's talk about Manchester United.
yeah. I guess this one it concerns me not because of anything really, but the statistical improbability of winning four times in a season. Um, it's one of those. Whenever I hear a commentary team talk about, oh, they've won three times in a row, they've done this, they've got these superlatives, they've got all these, records lining up for them. It just asks for something bad to happen.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, it's one of those things where Ange has never lost to Man United, right? Um, and we've beaten them actually 5 times in a row. So
This season,
no, 3 this season.
yeah, that's the one that worries me. It's
Or
the
we haven't
fourth
lost.
one.
We haven't lost to them in 5 games. We drew once last season. Um, So I'm I'm just slightly concerned. However, I think that this is the year. I think this is the year that Spurs actually pull off a trophy. Um, and I don't even think they have to pull it off. I think as long as Son this weekend gets a run out and some game time, get some legs underneath him, he's going to be able to contribute in the final. And that, if you look at the path and the trajectory that each team took through this competition, um, you just have to look at it. Um, you know, Manchester United were lucky to get through in the quarterfinal, correct? They
Sure, but they were dominant in the semifinal.
Sure they were, and maybe that was it was still chaos. You kind of felt like in that second game that Bilbao, like when they scored that first goal, you were like, "Uh-oh, something might actually be happening to United here." I mean, they went down what, two goals on aggregate in the previous round to a team with 10 men. I feel like the run through this competition has almost exactly mimicked the chaos of their league season. Whereas Spurs have actually played with the exception of the one game against Galatasaray, right? Have actually played to their strengths uh, in in a tactical way against the competition that they're playing against. So I think there are two different ways you got to look at this. You have to look at the way that Spurs basically dominated their way through the entire tournament by playing smart, you know, playing intelligently, knowing exactly what they needed to do to accomplish their goals. In fact, I mean, we had some players. Dane Scarlett got us through in one of those matches, right? We had some players that contributed, so you had a complete and total team effort to get us through this tournament. Whereas almost the entirety of Manchester United's tournament was fucking chaos, which mimics their season. I don't think that Manchester United is that good, and I don't think they can beat Spurs. And to be honest, I think that the team that needs this the most is the team that's going to go out there and show that that when you need something, it's more than expect. It's going to get you over more than expecting to win, like Manchester United always does. You know, the other part of it too is that Manchester United's manager doesn't even think they're good enough, and doesn't even care if they win.
Yeah, he's something, isn't he? And
And
you
to,
know
and to
what?
think that like he was one of the guys we might have been considering
Yeah.
for our coach.
Look, here's the thing. It's like Agent Mulder says, I want to believe. I really do. I want to believe that this is going to be our year, but I've been burned so many times before that, man, it just I feel like Hawkeye in Avengers Endgame, where he's just like, don't give me hope. Like I can't be hurt again. But everything that you're saying, Mike, it makes sense to me. It seems logical. It's based in fact, which I'm a sucker for things that are factually based, and it's a compelling argument. It's more compelling than the superstition of Spurs being Spursy. So, eh, on paper, I do. I want to believe, and yet it scares me. It really does. Like I don't know if the team is going to show up for it. I don't know if um we've kind of broken that curse. I would love for it to happen. I would love for Sonny to come in fresh as a daisy, ready to make a strong impact. But it just seems like the forces of the universe are consistently working against us, and it drives me nuts. I
That's
just
because
so
Steve, you don't have that can-do attitude.
no, it's well, I mean, maybe that's part of it. But we were going to be optimistic today, right? That was the
Yeah.
whole plan. No pessimism, no talking about unfortunate losses that may or may not have happened. Only optimistic things. And I think personally that the most optimistic thing of all that we could discuss is, hey, Mike, what you drinking?
You know, Steve, I like your frame of mind now. I think you took it and you flipped it right on its fucking head, and you turned it right around, and here we are.
Yeah, and did you notice I've got a nice friendly opossum on my shirt?
Oh, speaking of rodents with creepy tails.
Are we going to talk about me now?
No, if you unless you have a creepy tail. I got a little scare. My wife got a little scare yesterday when she closed the garage for the night, and she said there's something large inside of our garage. And I just shut the garage door, and I said, "Well, this is the mouse that I've been trying to catch for the past. I've got like four different things that I try to use that I'm trying to use to catch this mouse that I thought was in our garage, and it kept on eating the bait, the peanut butter, right, from these different traps. Tried two different types of bucket traps.
Sorry, that was me. I like peanut butter.
I know you do. And I tried a couple of the snap traps. Then I found out that you know what? It's got to be bigger than a mouse because it's not tripping these traps and it's able to get to that peanut butter. So I I'm I thought maybe it was a possum in our garage until this morning when I woke up and I opened the garage, and sure as shit, it's a fucking rat. I have not seen a rat anywhere, anywhere in Georgia, Vermont, in my entirety of the time that I've lived here. And there's one in my fucking garage. I've had snakes in my house. I've had bats in my house. I've had fucking mice in my house. I've had any kind of crazy fucking animal. I had bobcats.
I've
I've
been in
had
your
bobcats
house.
and mountain lions in my yard, turkeys and goddamn deer. But guess what? I got a fucking rat in my garage. So you know what I did? I went immediately into Amazon this morning and I bought
Four
two traps,
turtles. Oh,
two electrocution style traps.
you should have gone with turtles, man. That could have worked out to your benefit.
Turtles?
Yeah, four of them.
Four turtles? Will they eat rats?
No, but the rat will train them in martial arts.
Oh, okay.
Then you get some protectors. I mean, you probably have to supply them with the ninja weapons and everything, but
Heroes in a half shell.
turtle power.
There we go. Okay. So anyway, that's my story. This is actually just a fun pod today, guys. I just want you guys to know we were talking about Tottenham Hotspur, but listening to I'm going to bring it back to the extra inch again because listening to Nathan's post match from the Palace match, he instead of breaking down the match, he just came on and gave his reasoning as to why one silverback gorilla couldn't overtake 100 human men. And it was 8 minutes of just pure fucking brilliance in the style that only Nathan can provide. So Steve and I just kind of decided that at that, and partially in our last pod too was just to come out and just have some fun with this one because, we got another week until the final. So, it is what it is. So let's just have some fun with it. So today I have another offering This one is called Rhinestone Cowboy. So you can imagine it's
Rind.
got citrus rind
Okay, fair.
involved in this, right? This is an IPA from Eagle Park Brewing. Eagle Park Brewing's in Muskego, Wisconsin. Another Wisconsin beer. This one I've been wanting to drink, but I saved it for this show. It is an India Pale Ale with tangerine peel and blood orange. So obviously,
Interesting.
what'd you say?
I said interesting.
No, it is. It really is interesting. So the tangerines are going to give it a sweeter, juicy orange flavor, right? Like, it's going to be softer. Like tangerines are like a softer orange flavor, without a ton of bitterness. The blood orange itself lends like a lot of the super sweet, almost like berry like um, tartness and acidity to it. And depending on how they brewed this, what kind of hops they use, I mean, it could be overly bittered. It could be perfect. I mean, I've had a couple of different IPAs with blood orange, um, and they tend to be like kind of overly bitter. But I'm hoping like the sweetness of the tangerine really softens it and takes a little bit of the bitter out. But um, we'll see what happens here.
Yes. Let's see. Another shout out to the Vermont Cider Lab for their delightful hard cider. I'm a big fan of this. All of their drinks are named after dogs. Not like breeds of dogs, but dogs that they personally know. And they've
This
got
is
little bios about them. See, like,
this
there's
is
a
super bubbly.
little bio. Oh yes, we were talking about your beer. This is Hey Mike, what you're drinking, not Hey Steve, shut up.
Wow, dude.
What's it smell like? Teen Spirit?
Yeah, it smells like tangerines. I mean, like straight up like tangerines. It's got like a golden a golden to almost red color to it, uh probably because of the blood orange that it's brewed with. My god, it smells good. It's not a hazy. It's just a straight up IPA, so I don't know what kind of hops are in this because it's a brand new beer by them. So um let's give it a shot and see what we get.
Sorry, I had to give Nikki Winks a nice hard time for blowing us off to be outside doing activities with his daughter. I mean, come on. What kind of excuse is that?
Listen, he does nothing all day anyway. I mean, uh, what does he have to do?
Something with, kids and psychology. I don't know.
No, he's trying to use his psychology on us to make us feel bad that we're ragging on him because he's out with his kids. He's always out with his kids. Let them
Can't he just
breathe. Let
lock
them
him in
make
a
their own
cupboard?
choices.
Put them under the staircase. They can come out when they're 11.
Give them some scissors and some dynamite or some not dynamite, but maybe
No,
some
definitely
firecrackers.
dynamite.
Some firecrackers to play with and some scissors. And if they come out okay, then you've done your job as a parent. My kids seem to be fine. Lily's upstairs right now and hasn't burned the house down yet. Granted, she's 16, but she's been cooking since she was 11 and she hasn't burned the house down. I let her just,
Wow, impressive.
yeah, I let her have at it. Leave her to her own devices.
And you know what?
This beer, Steve,
Tell me about it. Oh, I gotta
dude,
put
I'm
this.
gonna,
in the
I'm gonna
spreadsheet.
save one of these for you because
Ah, the spreadsheet. What's Mike drinking? Come
holy
on.
crap, it's got an almost creamy mouthfeel to it. It's not. It looked super bubbly. It's not overly carbonated. It comes in at 6.5% alcohol.
6.5% alcohol. creamed in his mouth.
Creamed in my mouth.
Or something like that. I don't know. I don't think
Dude,
Brian even reads these
it's
notes.
like, you know what it tastes like? It tastes like a fucking orange Tootsie Pop.
Ooh, that's actually super intriguing.
It is super intriguing. You know, like a few years ago when they started putting like lactose into IPAs and they called everything was a fucking milkshake IPA.
Oh yeah.
That's kind of what I'm getting here, but one of the fun facts that we learned from Brewmaster Terry when he was on after the Man City match was what? That flaked oats. So there's got to be flaked oats in here. Make that creamy mouthfeel, but it is not a hazy.
Flaked oats. You know who I'm looking forward to seeing come kick off for the Vermont Green? It's Brewmaster Terry.
You will see if you come down to zero. We'll get into this right after I finish this.
Absolutely. That's I'm priming us to go in that direction.
I'm gonna continue to talk about this. I'm gonna finish this beer right here during Hey Mike.
Ooh.
Like I said, it tastes like fucking candy.
Oh wait, that's I put my guess down under your verdict. Now I've got my guess in.
If my mommy
This beer, for me, is a 4.8.
Oh my god. That's probably the highest rating you've given. And
This beer is fucking bananas good, dude.
I would punch him.
It is insanely good.
that is in fact your highest rated beer. Wow.
Look at it. Look at this beer. It's bananas. It's not bananas. It's oranges.
Bananas.
It's oranges. This
This
beer is so goddamn good.
Bananas.
And maybe it's just my attitude right now, how I'm feeling, but this beer is really, really good. I've only had one Busch Light other than this. Steve, I can't say enough about this beer.
Yeah, I mean, the rating says enough. I'm looking through the previous highest rated was Zero Gravity Zone 40 Thieves. Excuse me, and the Three
That was a what, 4
Philosophers.
point, that was a
Nitro,
4.6,
4.7.
7. Yeah.
Yeah, this one now edges them out. I had guessed 4.3. I didn't expect you to go that high. I thought it would be higher than normal.
So,
but
it is so fucking good. It's
Damn.
going to be really hard for me to not save one for you.
I understand. I get it. Where do people need to go if they want to find their own rhinestone cowboy?
They need to go to Wisconsin.
Wisconsin. Oh man. All right.
Eagle
fine,
Park
whatever.
Brewing.
What about a player? Who is the player to associate with this?
As our good friend Brian from Rhode Island, and Brian will be back on the podcast.
Oh,
It's just-
Danny Rose. Okay.
it's the business. It is the business season for Brian, so once he is relieved of that, I'm sure he'll be back on for our cup winning episode.
We'll see about that.
As Brian from Rhode Island would say, Sir Harry of Kane.
Sir Harry of Kane, which you gave to Sea of Stars by Tilted Bar Brewery.
I did.
Yeah, that was the Harry Kane of beers. The notes specifically say this beer is fucking good. Way to go, Rhode Island. That was another one where we had quite the gap. You gave that a 4.6, and I had guessed a 4.2.
Okay. Well, now I'm saying Sir Harry of Kane is a 4.8.
All right. You know what? To differentiate it, it's going to be Harry Kane for that other one, and this one is going to be Sir Harold of Kane. There we go. Let's see if Brian picks up on that. He will. He's a smart guy.
I think he calls him Prince Harry of Kane. But
Yeah, whatever. He can do what he wants.
Well, because
He's
he's
Brian.
Brian, and he's a high powered CEO of of
Plastics.
he's the CEO of Rhode Island.
Yeah, there we go. CEO of Rhode Island, Brian. Excellent. This has been Hey Mike, Rhinestone Cowboy out of Wisconsin, a 4.8 new best record. But now let us look ahead.
So what I want to do, Steve, here, we've talked about Manchester United. We've talked about Tottenham Hotspur. What I want to do actually is I want to pose you two questions here for the second
Yes.
half of this podcast. You know, we got about 20 minutes left. So what I want to do is pose two questions here for this. The first question is, and it does have to do with Tottenham Hotspur. Okay, so and take off your your Spurs fan hat for the moment, right?
It's gone.
You're just a soccer guy. You don't necessarily have a favorite team here or there. You're just a soccer guy. Let's say a team finishes 17th in the league out of 20. That team wins a European trophy, whether it is a lesser trophy or the Champions League, right? One of the three European trophies. The team that is in second place, that finishes likely in second, maybe third place in that league, that same league, finishes second or third, bows out in the semifinal of one of those European tournaments. But they finished second in their league. Who has had the more successful season?
I would personally say the team with the trophy.
Okay, so now put your Tottenham hat back on.
Yep.
The 17th place team is Tottenham Hotspur. The second place, maybe third place team is Gooners Football Club.
I mean, it's still going to be the trophy, but it does remind me of that.
You can even just say, let's take your Tottenham hat off again, and you could say maybe, okay, so it's maybe fucking Manchester City, maybe it's Aston Villa, maybe it's Nottingham Forest, one of those other clubs, Newcastle United, one of those other teams, they don't you're still. That 17th place team is still had a more successful season. Maybe not a better league season, but a more successful season overall because they have won a European trophy. And despite, those other teams finishing in the top four, you're still going to be in the same European competition next year. So league doesn't fucking matter at that point to me, right? I mean, is that how you see it?
Yeah, at the same time, it's because it's 17th that I think that's the case. The team that I'm thinking about, because of the precarious position, is Wigan. Back when they won the FA Cup versus Manchester City and then got relegated like 3 days later, and now they're in what, League One, like mid-table League One, not even competing for promotion. Winning that, yeah, I'm sure it was great and everything, but everything that has happened since now, where did I see that? 2013. Yikes. Was it really worth it?
At the time? Did that at the time put them in the Europa League? Or
No.
what year was that? 2013?
That was 2013, yeah.
So FA Cup now puts you in Europa.
Which is probably unfortunate for them, but still, I mean, they just absolutely, and they've had other issues with administration and ownership and instability and all that, but
yeah, I mean, they've been
that's the one that worries me.
Their ownership has basically run them into the fucking ground. I mean, there's situations like that, in all leagues. Look at the USL Championship right now. Loudon.
Fair.
Loudon right now. They're undefeated in the league, and they're easily the top team in the league. They might not even exist next year. because of their financial situation, because they've been run so poorly as a team. Um, so that kind of leads into my second question for you. And this was a discussion I was on the Blazing Musket podcast last night. And for those of you who don't know, Blazing Musket supports my other podcast, United in Green. Blazing Musket is a soccer website that focuses on New England soccer mostly. So they started out as a group of writers who started this blog and turned into a big website. They have official credentials, and they covered at the time they covered the New England Patriots, and they covered the MLS team, the New England Revolution. Um, and now they cover New England Revolution, and they only do soccer. Hartford Athletic, New England Revolution, Vermont Green, Portland Hearts of Pine, and so I had as the Vermont representative for Blazing Musket, I have the opportunity to do a monthly roundtable talking about soccer in New England, and we got into um, the promotion and relegation talk. Um, in U.S. soccer, in how generally U.S. sports are a closed system, right? So you have minor league systems that feed the upper level teams, right? And how MLS has not bought into the promotion and relegation situation, and USL, through developing their league over the past number of years, has developed a tiered system within their leagues, right? And just announced that in 2026 or 2027 they're going to have a premier division, likely going to be called the Premiership or the USL Premier. Um, and they haven't decided how they're going to put teams initially into that league, but they also, on the heels of that, they also voted on um, a promotion and relegation system that would work within the tiers of the three-tiered league, and which would put Vermont Green in the USL 2 in no situation where they would ever be able to be part of that system. But that's beyond the point. So my question to you is, when they announced that there would be promotion and relegation in the United States within the USL, they didn't say this is going to be done 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road. We have a vision for it. They said this is going to happen in 2028.
Yes.
They give you 3 years.
Yes.
So the questions are, will promotion and relegation work? Do they have enough time to implement it? And in a country where typically all the sports leagues are closed leagues, can it survive?
Personally, yes, I think it can. Yes, I think there's enough time, and honestly, it's something that I would look forward to. I've seen a lot of positive social media reaction around this decision, and I do think it adds an interesting dynamic that you don't necessarily see, especially in Major League Soccer, right, where it is a closed circuit system. The issue that I have with MLS is that more often than not, you end up with clubs where every season it feels like there's a reset. Like there's a couple that have smart owners and kind of know what they're doing, but by and large, it just seems like it's intended to be a money making machine and not much else. So sometimes they get lucky and they are really competitive and strong, and other times, maybe they're not so good, bottom of the league, and but then they get the chance to reset in the off season, right, and shift their rosters around and try to do something a little bit different. And it's just, to me, it's not as exciting as a promotion and relegation stint. And I recognize that promotion and relegation has its own set of problems, especially if you're trying to run a business that is supposed to make you money. Unfortunately, we don't live in a society where rich people do things out of the kindness of their heart. Um, but I think as a consumer of this type of entertainment, it provides something that is way more interesting than what you would find in a Major League Soccer. And even like if you expand it to other sports, I mean, you end up with some sporting dynasties, in football, baseball, NBA that end up lasting for a long time. Um, where they're really like my Giants, for example, right? They were garbage last year. But what happens, right? Like there's really no repercussion. Okay, we didn't make playoffs. That's
I mean,
unfortunate.
you look at the Cleveland Browns,
Yeah, there's really,
Pittsburgh Pirates. They're perennially shit, and they don't
but
care. Like the ownership
exactly.
shits in the mouths of the fans essentially, and allows and allows them to go year after year without accomplishing anything.
And honestly, I much prefer the sort of Cinderella stories that you see with kind of these underdog lower league teams that get the chance to go up against the best of the best and compete. You see it, it's they call it in England the magic of the FA Cup, right? Um, and to have something like that where you could have a local team like I'm thinking Luton Town last season, at least, they kind of shit the bed this season, but that was a nice Cinderella story. Here's a team that had back-to-back promotions. They were doing well. They've got a tiny ass stadium in the middle of a quaint little community, and they were playing with the big boys. That's not something that you really get to see in the U.S. in any sport. So I think by adding that, I think there's a novelty to it that might entice people to check out maybe some of their local USL clubs where maybe they hadn't been inclined to do so before. But I think if they can catch that lightning in a bottle, they can really do something special with it. Um, and that's the thing. It sort of comes down to how the league itself wants to handle it after 2028, once it's been around and once the fans have gotten a taste for it. Do they want to continue to incentivize and to push clubs and fans to support and provide their time, their money, their attendance at a lot of these? Or are they just going to let it peter out and then people get bored of it, the novelty wears off, and nobody cares about USL anymore? That's the part that concerns me. But I do think that there is a place for it in the US, and I do think it has the chance to succeed so long as the league itself gives it the support that it needs to not just build that strong foundation, but give it platforms to continuously improve and offer spectacle that I think a lot of people, when they see sport, it's entertainment, right? If they can offer that entertainment and keep that spectacle going and keep people coming back, I don't see why it couldn't succeed. I mean, hell, you've got clubs in lower divisions in England that still draw in a crowd week
That's
after
kind of the
week,
point I
right?
made last night. Was like you have those teams like Notts County who bounce back and forth between National League, and they go into League One, League Two championship, and then they bounce back down, and the Norwiches who are bouncing between League One championship and Premier League constantly in Norwich. But for me, um, there are a number of pros and cons to it. Like you have um, you know, with promotion and relegation, you have like an increased competitive integrity. So like every single match matters. The teams, fight, and oftentimes like the relegation battle is actually more fun to watch than the battle for the top four spots in England, right, or in any of these other leagues. It prevents tanking for draft picks, that kind of shit. Like that happens in the MLS. It happens in the NBA. It happens in 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 uh, in the NFL. It doesn't necessarily happen in the MLB, but um, another thing that is great about promotion relegation is like you said, it offers development of like smaller markets. It gives like some of these lower division clubs, like say a Portland Hearts of Pine, who's a brand new team, it gives them the opportunity and a path to like find a spot in like some top flight soccer in this country. It encourages local investment, community building, fan support, infrastructure, all of that type of stuff. It incentivizes youth developments. Um, I think that it could help the club grow overall with like youth systems in this country versus having the closed club system that we have now, the pay for play system. um I think it encourages fan engagement, because like I said, relegation battles are just as fun for fans of other teams, as the fight for the top is, especially if you have one of those teams who just sits there in the middle of the league, um, every single season. Um, you have an alignment with like the global football culture, the South American system, the European system, and to a lesser extent the Asian system. They don't necessarily do a lot of pro rel in any of these Asian countries, um, but there is huge drawbacks because money is definitely a thing, right? Uh, any kind of relegation could devastate a team. Like I was just saying, Loudon has an issue right now where because they're so terribly run by their ownership group, even though they're in first place, they could cease to exist, right? So relegation could completely cripple a club due to whatever the TV deal that they have, that the USL has with CBS and ESPN right now, right? Um, it blocks and discourages investors to spend millions to tens or hundreds of millions of dollars with any kind of risk of any kind of relegation. Um, it really fucks up like the franchise model, right? That the MLS has kind of developed, and it throws a wrench into the billionaire system, which sure, that's all well and good to socialists like us, but like capitalists, people who like those closed systems, um, it throws a wrench into that top tier of soccer. I think that like promotion and relegation could eventually also drag in a lot more international players because they international players see opportunities, right? International players who aren't necessarily catching on their European leagues, or their South American leagues or Central American leagues or Mexican leagues, they don't get those. If they don't get those opportunities to play in those leagues, they can come to America, and I think promotion and relegation would be a good thing in that. The other really big thing, and you mentioned Luton Town, right, was a lack of infrastructure, and the way that it's that like the leagues in the USL are set up right now, the lack of the infrastructure, um, i.e., like video boards, VAR situation, that type of stuff, ability to like right now the USL Championship, you have to have a stadium that seats over 15,000 if you want to be in the USL Championship. Or was it? No, maybe it's 10,000. 10,000.
Right. Yeah. Something like that.
But like a lot of these lower tier teams, they just don't have that. They don't have, there's not a ton of soccer specific stadiums in this country. Um, and the competition level, is an issue. There's limitation with geographics, flights, and like a lot of this really, a lot of these cons can be overcome. But I think that like with promotion and relegation, you know, in Europe, it has taken hundreds of years to develop this system, right? They didn't start out well either. There's gonna be bumps in the road. They didn't start out well. None of these none of these leagues started out well with this promotion and relegation system. It's going to take time. It's going to take time to get it right. And does the USL have the staying power to be able to do that, because they don't have the billionaire system that the MLS has, right? They do have multi millionaires in the championship, right? The owners of Rhode Island FC aren't just some fucking hicks, off the turnip truck, that just ran into some money and bought a soccer team. These guys have a plan. Portland Hearts of Pine have a plan. They don't plan on staying in that league for very long. Even the owners of the founders of Vermont Green, they don't plan on staying in USL2 forever, but there are roadblocks that keep them from becoming one of those top tier teams. So, it's all well and good that we love to go to the games. We draw 3,000 fans or more a game at Virtue Field, but we have to make sure in the USL that if we're going to support and be fans that support the USL versus the MLS and the billionaire system, we have to make sure that as fans we allow this to succeed. I always say, like, you know, allow yourself to succeed. Don't let yourself fail, but allow yourself to succeed. And in order to do that, you have to make mistakes, right? The only way to learn is to make mistakes. And I
Absolutely.
think the USL has to learn how to do that if we're going to have true promotion and relegation in this country. And I honestly feel without promotion and relegation in this country, and the development of the youth system and the academies through these clubs, that the US will never ever 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 compete on an international level.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. One that we could probably talk about even more in detail, but
Woo, I just ran my mouth a lot. I'm sorry.
we are at time for closing thoughts. So I'll let you take a sip there, and I'll keep mine short, sweet, and to the point. If you are in the Burlington area, come Thursday. So that's depending on when you listen to this, it could be tomorrow, it could be today. But if you're in the Burlington area on Thursday, May 15th, head to Zero Gravity Brewery on Pine Street in Burlington. Uh, what time is that? 5, 6 o'clock, something like that. Where the Vermont Green
I'll be there early.
will be there. You've got some players, staff. They'll be revealing their training kit for the season. Should be a good time, a nice meet and greets. Get to hang out with some of the fans and really kickstart the season in a nice, positive way. I'm going to try to be
Here's
there
another
too.
positive, Steve. You're going to get to meet Mike and Steve from Wicked Spursy.
That is another positive. I was kind of hoping that I would get to meet Sam Mewis at the event, but
Sam Mewis, I'm not going to say she's going to be there. I'm not going to say she's not.
Mike, there's just one thing that I want, and it's just to meet my personal favorite women's team player of all time. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
You can get in line to snap a picture with Sam Mewis.
I'll do my best, but that's my final thoughts. Be there or be at another place. I don't really care. I'm not a cop. What about you?
Yeah, for me, yeah, again, guys, go out there, support your local clubs, whether you're in Europe, Australia, South America, any of the number of countries that I've just found out that listen to Wicked Spursy. Um, it still amazes me, all of the folks that support us out there, and enjoyed the product that Steve and I, and to a greater extent, I shouldn't say to a lesser extent, but to a greater extent, Dave also helped to build here. It never ceases to amaze. But I just want you guys to know that, like, go out there, support your local teams, your local clubs, um, and you know go out and support your small podcasts, whether Tottenham podcasts, whether their fucking true crime podcasts, small podcasts, small football clubs. Um, they're the grassroots organizations that make this world run. Go out there and find something that you enjoy and that you can support, and and get it done, because supporting the billionaire class and supporting um, the people that want to keep regular people down every single day, it doesn't help. It really doesn't help. Just go out there, support local businesses, your local soccer clubs if you're into sports, your local podcasts, and the smaller podcasts that are just out there doing this as a hobby, doing this for fun, doing this to entertain people, doing this as a therapy for themselves. Uh, Support the smaller things in life, because that's what really makes humanity, you know, work and turn. That's all.
Well said. Well said. I approve of this message personally. And with that, I will also say to you, Mike, and to our listeners, coins, 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 coins.
And
Don't be an asshole. And
just don't.
Mike, what final words do you have for us?
Everybody, I want you to go out there, be safe, and protect your mental health.
And
Tottenham Hotspur action. It's fantastic.